been mixed up in a particularly large crowd before. I remember the first time that I can recollect being in a large crowd. My mother used to take us to walk the Mackinac Bridge when I was little. And I was 4 years old, and I was in a stroller being pushed across the Mackinac Bridge. And the following year, my mom decided that I probably should walk it myself. So she put the stroller in front of me and said, "Now, Susie, when you get tired, you can get in the stroller. Can't you take one more step? One more step. One more step." 5 miles across the bridge, pushing my own stroller at 5 years old. Made it the whole way. But in that crowd at 5 years old, about all I could see was my stroller. Backsides. Everybody's going, "Look at the beautiful view. We're on this bridge. We're looking over the streets. Is that a boat over there?" And all I see is feet. I was stuck in the crowd, a little too short to enjoy the view. Zacchaeus knows what that's like. Zacchaeus, who was a rich tax collector. He was a rich tax collector and a Jew, a local person hired by Rome to collect taxes against his own Jewish brothers and sisters. People felt about tax collectors similarly to how they feel about it now, the jokes that go around, only it was probably a lot more intense than that. And here he was, a traitor, one that had turned on his own and decided to follow the occupying Rome for the almighty dollar. He was not loved. In fact, being in the midst of that crowd of locals was probably not particularly safe for Zacchaeus because he was so disliked in his role and in turning away from his own people. But there he went. He wanted to see Jesus. He couldn't see Jesus because he was short. So it says that Zacchaeus ran ahead. Now imagine this moment of him running ahead, this distinguished leader in the community, certainly not a loved leader, but certainly of an important authority position, and he's in some form of robe. Can you imagine? He's probably lifting up the robe and running with his sandals showing. He's probably then climbing up this tree like a schoolboy. See, in a community, a culture in the Middle East where honor is so highly prized, he was disgracing himself. He was not following the social norms of the time, but he was willing to break social norms to get to Jesus. Jesus first finds Zacchaeus up in the tree. He's looking around and he sees him and he says, "I'm going to your house today." With no notice, he's going to Zacchaeus' house. This was Jesus, the rabbi that was most respected, the rabbi who people were still inviting to grand dinner parties and wanting to have be part of their lives. This man was inviting the detested traitor in the tree to go have dinner with him, to go have lunch with him. He's going to share a meal with him, and in all the midst of Zacchaeus' flaws, his outward appearance, he still is the perfect host. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, he invites Jesus. No excuses. No asking to reschedule. No, give me a moment to clean, or I need to go to the store. Yes, Jesus. He climbed down and took Jesus to his home and welcomed him with rejoicing. Now, this was a pretty bold ask on Jesus' part, because he knew how the crowd felt of Zacchaeus, and he knew how it would look for him to eat with him. See, unlike our business lunches of today, if you went to someone's home and ate with them, it wasn't just because there wasn't a restaurant around, it was because you wanted to have a relationship with them, be friends with them, connect with them. And so, that's what he was doing. He was inviting him into relationship, saying, "I care about you and I want to spend time with you." Those observing Jesus probably thought, "Here he goes again. Jesus is going to eat with sinners." The place that Jesus found himself so frequently. And there he was, at the house of Zacchaeus. Jesus didn't only come to save. He came to seek and save the lost. Certainly he was seeking the lost, and it was the lost that he found in that tree. So he came seeking and saving the lost and connecting with people. And when the people of the community were disgruntled and upset, he said to them, "Today salvation has come to this house, the house of Zacchaeus. Today salvation has come." And what is that salvation that came? It came in the personhood of Jesus. Jesus himself was the salvation that came to that house that day. So, what would have happened if Zacchaeus hadn't? What if he didn't rush ahead? What if he didn't climb that tree? What if he followed all of these social norms that told him no, no, no? What if he hadn't? He wouldn't have had dinner with Jesus. He wouldn't have maybe met Jesus. He would have never connected with Jesus. It would have been that same view of shoes and backsides in the middle of the crowd. He would have missed out. But instead, he was willing to do something out of social norm. Thinking of our own social norms, I wonder if we would have done the same. If Jesus came and said, "I'm coming to your house today after church, let's go," what would we say? What would we think? Not even what we say, what would we think? Think about your own house right now. Right this very second. Are the breakfast dishes on the counter or in the sink? Does that garbage that you were going to get to throw out this afternoon, is it still sitting waiting to go out? How many outfits did you try on and throw on your bed this morning, waiting to hang up when you get home? Is it just your pastor? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. We're not all prepared for a distinguished guest at this exact moment, are we? And so, Zacchaeus allowed Jesus in. If we had had an important person come to our house, or prepare to come to our house, we probably would have looked at our house entirely different. Suddenly, the floors that hadn't been mopped in a little while need mopping. The dust that you only get to dusting twice a year becomes apparent to your eyes. Pretty soon, for some reason, though we could live in our own filth before, now we need to clean everything up for appearances in front of us. Because someone else matters. We put this pressure on ourselves to not let others see the messy parts of our lives. Even in my own life. A few of you have been over to my husband's parsonage in Charlevoix, there where we live. And quite a few of his church members have. Now let me explain to you what it looks like when I tour you through the parsonage. When I tour you through the parsonage, you see rooms, we probably go into the backyard, I show you some artwork, maybe some family pictures, we sit down and have a cup of tea. This is my tour. Occasionally, generally when my husband's leaders of the church come by, I'm busy cooking something, and so my 11-year-old Katie gives the tour. It is a distinctly different tour. She has yet to learn the socially appropriate things to show. So this is what I hear from the other room in the kitchen cooking something. And this is our pantry. When did I last organize that? This is our vintage 1950s blue bathtub, and I hear the curtain opening. I scrubbed that in. And this is the linen closet where Mommy keeps the towels. Oh my goodness, you have crossed the line, child. She shows them everything. The things that you just don't show your casual visitors. The mess that you keep only for yourself or for those closest to you. This is what becomes well known. Because, see, we have high standards for what we show our guests. I hear that there was a time before social media. And in that time, if you invited someone, they saw what you showed them, and only they recalled the memory. Now in a social media world, if someone comes over, inevitably they take a picture, it gets posted on Facebook, and whatever you were willing to let them see is one thing, but now the world has seen. It's a little different level, and sometimes we just want to hide our mess. It's the same spiritually. Sometimes we just want to hide our mess. We want to hide the mess of our hearts and the mess of our lives. We want to hide the mess even from Jesus. We want to make things look pretty and perfect before we let our Lord in. We try to let Jesus see only the best of us. But if we hold back and only give Jesus the best of us, what are we missing out on? When we hold back the messy parts of our lives from Jesus, we miss out on the comfort and companionship that comes with someone knowing you, mess and all. The people that you let in to the messy parts of your lives are inevitably the people you love the most, you trust the most. Church, Jesus needs to be counted in that number. To be followers of Jesus, we must experience his presence for ourselves, and we must open our heart to Jesus. And that includes getting real with Jesus, with the ugly parts, the messy parts, the parts that you wish you could hide or you didn't want there. This is the part that we welcome Jesus into, because in that, friendship forms with our Lord, intimacy forms, and you might be surprised by how good he is at cleaning up the messes when we let him in. On All Saints Sunday, we remember the saints that have gone before us and chose to let Jesus in the mess of their lives. The hard days, the moments that they would have rather not made public, those dark, grievous times, and still persevered, and still continued. Jesus was welcomed in their hearts, in their homes, in their mess. And what is the response of Jesus? When you invite him in, what does he do? I look at the passage from John 14. This is what Jesus does when we let him in. Jesus says, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If it were not so, I would not have told you. I am going there to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, so that where I am, you will also be." Church, when we invite Jesus into the messiness of our lives, he invites us into the beauty of his heaven. This is how that relationship works. So many generations before us have done that. Faces that you can probably still see in these pews and hear the voices of when the choir sings. Places where we will one day go into the home of our Lord. This is the promise. We are never to be afraid to let Jesus into the messiness of our home, for what we receive is a place in his. Amen.